Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the planning board meeting of Tuesday, November 7th. These meetings are recorded. I'll take a motion on the minutes. Motion from John, seconded by Lena. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor, opposed, unanimous. We have an 81P for 7 Florence Street. I have no information, so.
Are you gonna say anything, are you? Okay.
No, go
Well, okay, so this is, this originally were 2 lots. And then somewhere the homeowners decided they didn't wanna pay taxes on 2 lots. So they subdivided it, they combined it as one. And then when the children found out and said, wait a minute, where's our lots that we were supposed to have? They asked to go back. I think they've come before the planning board and showed this to you. They went to the ZBA and they got a variance granted by the ZBA on September 18, 2017 for the 2 lots.
It's
So
endorsable.
essentially, it's endorsable as submitted because they went and got ZBA.
Right, it's got ZBA approval.
Okay.
Yep, well said.
Any questions from the board?
Gotta make a motion, though, we have.
Motion by Babe to sign the 81P, seconded by Lena. Any discussion? Hearing not. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Bob, stay right there. There's a 81P for 14 East Street.
Windsor Road.
We'll get to that one.
Okay.
Bob's doing the first and third, so I figured while he was sitting there, it'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
just
let
as
him
easy.
do it. All right.
He wasn't efficient.
So here again, this is also a plan that went before the ZBA to create this additional lot here on in this parcel they own here. So the ZBA granted a variance on September 18th, 2017 to allow the 2 lots.
So this is. Yep.
So, yes, so again, endorsable as submitted.
Across the street.
No, yeah, sorry.
So the person is put.
First one was Plant, third one is Soto. 14 East Street, correct, Bob?
Yes, 14 East Street.
I remember that.
Endorsable as submitted. Motion by Lena, seconded by John. Any further discussion? Hearing not. All in favor, opposed, unanimous. We also have an 81P for 25 and 27 Windsor Road. Evening.
Sure, that's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Colonial Village.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Bill Nelson from Land Planning. Another plan that went before the ZBA a few months ago. Switching ownership from one parcel to one owner to the next because it was gonna ripen into adverse possession. All the lots are undersized.
So I really can't see that plan, so I don't, can you explain that one more time? Oh, wait a minute, Larry has, that's a little difficult, I think, for us to see. Can you explain that one more time, sir?
Existing lot line
Get that.
runs right here. This owner was maintaining this property, it was gonna ripen into adverse possession. So both owners got
No, I think
together
he took-
and made an agreement to put a lot line here and grant parcel A to lot 36. Went before the ZBA because everything is undersized for current zoning.
Any questions? All right. Any questions from the board?
Moves to here.
Adding that to the, this was,
This one goes to that one goes to this, I think
Yeah.
is what he said.
Yep, that's an easement, this one gets granted to that owner.
Do you want to, ship the lots?
the septic system in the middle of it.
Doesn't really matter, zoning grant.
He's only granted it, so it's
Nothing we can do
endorsable
about
as
it
submitted.
anyways.
Yes,
It's endorsable as submitted.
yes.
Pleasure of the board.
I make the motion.
Motion from Babe, seconded by John. Any further discussion? Hearing not. All in favor, opposed, unanimous. Thank you. We now have the continuation of the public hearing on the application of F&B Central Realty Corp. for a special permit to construct Bear Hill Village Plan Residential Development, and also the continued public hearing for the application of F&B Central Realty Corp. for approval of Bear Hill Village, a definitive plan. Bob, thank you for being prepared to speak on that, because I know some of the budding neighbors were becoming concerned about showing up. Delays. So I appreciate you being prepared. Don't ever say I didn't say anything, don't ever say I didn't say anything nice to you, Bob.
So, progress that we've made on this is mostly in conjunction with the, street improvements for Beaver Street.
Okay?
We have met with the highway surveyor and the town engineer. And, I think at the last meeting, I did show you, I believe at the last meeting, what we were proposing to do for those improvements. There was some concern as to what extent the applicant was going to have to, repair Beaver Street regarding overlays or patches or.
Wasn't there a wall as well?
Yeah.
There's a few walls.
A few walls. So. So, you can, I don't know, you can see that what we've done is biggest area of concern really for safety for butters was in this stretch in here from where our proposed road meets Beaver Street out to Central Street. The pavement gets to in some places 16, 15 feet wide. So we have proposed to make this a continuous width of 22 feet in this area. Generally by expanding the pavement to the easterly side of Beaver Street, because if you go down there, the westerly side is where the utility poles, and there are pretty much vertical ledge faces along the westerly side. So we were able to, we did a complete survey showing all the driveways, stone walls, trees, and we were able to widen this to 22 feet wide, staying within the layout of Beaver Street and not encroaching onto any of the neighbors' properties with the grading or the proposed pavement. Then in meeting with the, after we did a walkthrough, we walked the rest of Beaver Street with the town engineer and the highway surveyor to try to see if there was any other improvements that we could make in this area for traffic flow and safety, more so safety than anything else. And there are a couple of areas that we showed. There's an area here where the actual pavement is outside the layout, and it makes for a very broad, swooping, like a bump of a curve instead of a gradual curve in the roadway. So the proposal is to pull that in, expand the pavement to the westerly side, and make this section of Beaver Street from Maple Street to where the culvert crosses over in here somewhere, 26 feet. And in doing so, we're gonna have areas where we're gonna remove pavement, we're gonna add pavement, we're gonna remove pavement, we're gonna add pavement, we're gonna add pavement, we're gonna remove pavement. It was agreed that, after talking with the DPW, or the highway surveyor, It is in his future plans that he is going to be redoing a complete resurface of Beaver Street in the in the relatively near future. So all the applicant will be required to do is, in all the instances, in this area and along in this area here, he will provide clean saw-cut edges on both the areas where the pavement is to be removed and where the pavement is to be, where new pavement is to abut the existing pavement. And then those areas will be paved in accordance with the local town standards, 4 inches of pavement. And then at some point in time, then that would allow him to come in and just do a complete overlay. He expressed to us that he felt this was the best way to do it because he felt that because of the depth of existing material and the proximity, he felt, of ledge to the surface, that it wasn't the type of road that he could go in there and grind it all up and try to reclaim it that way. He was just gonna go over and just resurface what was there. So the applicant has agreed to those stipulations. We have made some adjustments to the interior development of the project here by adjusting the culverts to meet the openness ratios requirements for the standards. And not much has changed as far as that. Other than that, we've reduced the amount of wall in this area here by allowing some grading to protrude into this area because of the way these culverts now are being installed. Is more of a bank. There's this bank that we have as opposed to GVW, but that's not this board's concern. But this allows us to reduce some of the lengthy wall that we had in here that was really a concern for the approval process. And unfortunately, I stopped at the sewer board before I came down here, and we're still not in possession of an approval letter from them. At the last meeting that I attended, they basically said that they approved the project. They have no problem with the project as the way it sits. They just wanted it subject to final approval of the design of the sewer and the pump station. When I was up there, they explained to me that they have had some sewer breaks in the last few weeks, which have prohibited them from being able to spend any time to review the plans to come up with some final information. Like some areas where, because of this area here being so long, even running at the minimum slope, by the time we get through here to cross country and get to the pump station, there's a couple of deep manholes, so they are gonna, like you just mentioned, that those they want to look at them to see if they want cast ductile line instead of PVC. But it's just pretty much just design criteria on their part, but not the project. They have no problem with the project or the capacity or whatever the flows that the project's going to be, and they've tentatively reviewed the pump station and have, we've had some comments on that, and just some minor cleaning up some stuff, but.
Thanks, Bob. Questions from the board?
You're coming.
Obviously, you'd be coming back, so.
Oh, yeah.
Anything from the board? No? Being that this is a public hearing, is there anyone that has a question relative to the presentation that Bob has given? If so, let me just finish. If so, I just need you to come up, identify by name and address, please.
All I was just gonna ask is, does he have an extra copy of what he has up there, that's all?
You could probably get one
I'll
of
give
these
you this
small
one
ones
if
that
that
they
helps
have.
you.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Anyone else? When do you continue it to, Bob?
What do you think the sewer board?
Yeah,
when
they
are
probably
gonna be able
won't,
to get
they're
to
not
it?
gonna meet again until, right. I guess we gotta go to December 12th, is what you said?
Yeah, our meeting's on December 12th, unless you wanna, go into January.
No, I don't wanna
Into
do
the
that. I
next
do not wanna do
schedule.
that.
Can't we just close the,
No,
Close
'cause-
the hearing and take it under advisement?
No, because you need to have everything that you're gonna issue the decision on submitted, so we know what it is. You can always approve something with conditions, but we don't have the final version to look at yet.
Do you want to?
I wouldn't, I'd keep both hearings open and,
No problem.
because once we
December
close
12th,
it.
Bob? Or do you
Yeah,
wanna
like
go
I
for
say,
the
I
first
might,
January?
you know, well, no, this, I don't wanna go into January, no, definitely not, so,
Your only option is gonna be December 12th.
right,
Okay.
You got your,
right, because the other meeting this month is not gonna be, the sewer board's not gonna meet again, so.
Well, they're gonna meet the 19th.
Of what?
Tell them
Next
that
month.
it's coming back as the
Of
sewer.
December, so
I mean,
that's
there's
even
no
not-
expectations,
that may-
nor should there be any other changes, so that, I mean, unless people wanna come back and know whether they're putting ductile line and pipe in the sewer, I'm not sure that, you know,
To that point,
well, just quickly, in terms of, to Babe's concerns earlier, procedurally, it's not gonna take any longer to just keep the hearing open until the last time.
That's fine.
Because we'll be ready, you close the hearing, approve the decision, and it'll all be done.
yeah, I have no problem.
just so you
with
understand,
doing
what,
that.
what we're discussing is, for the most part, the plan is substantially complete with the final logistical, if you will, being the sewer. Once a sewer has been submitted and approved through the sewer board, essentially, we will close the public hearing and then vote on it. So I only mention that in case you don't feel coming back on December 12th. And I mention that in case, in fact, you do have in the back of your mind some pressing question that you would like answered that perhaps has not already been answered to date. I'm trying to mitigate how much time you're wasting, and I don't mean it that way, it just. I understand. Yeah.
And they
If
can
you had
always
any, huh?
call, they can always call the
Yeah,
office.
no, I'm just saying, if you had any, burning questions that, feel free. Okay. Thank you. So I have a motion from Babe, seconded by John to, continue this till December 12th. Any discussion on the motion here or not, and all in favor, opposed, unanimous? Thank you.
You.
Number 3 is all yours, Joe.
Progress.
We have the preliminary plan review for the Birch Street Affordable Housing Development, 89 Corp. I think we have a letter from
Yeah, I can read through it
I
quickly.
guess you're gonna have to go through it, Larry.
And Kevin's here as well, so, but if you like, I can read through it quickly. This is for potential affordable housing development by 88 Corp. Kevin Lobiser for the property on Birch Street, basically behind the fire station. The applicant requests preliminary review of a proposed Chapter 40B affordable housing development off Birch Street, which proposal was received favorably by the Board of Selectmen at their May 8th, 2017 meeting. This cursory review is being conducted to expedite Mass Housing's site eligibility process. The result of the Planning Board's review, along with this report, will be forwarded then to the Board of Selectmen. The expectation is for the Board of Selectmen to develop a level of comfort in providing a letter of support for the project that would accompany the applicant's site eligibility request to Mass Housing. So they would all be submitted at the same time as opposed to a multi-month. He submits, they send us a letter, we send a letter back. You end up wasting 4 to 6 months in that process. Upon receipt of the site eligibility, the proposal will be formally submitted then to the ZBA for their comprehensive permit approval. At that time, ZBA will request that we provide them with a formal detailed review and full report so they can receive that once they set their public hearing later on. Specifically, the proposal consists of 159-unit, 4-building affordable housing development on the northerly 21 acres, basically, of the 46-acre overall parcel off Birch Street, which lies west behind the fire department headquarters. All of the 159 units will be rental units and will therefore all count toward the town's 10% requirement. Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, provides for comprehensive permits to be granted in communities that do not have 10% of their housing stock as defined as affordable to lower moderate income families as established by Department of Housing and Community Development. Milford's percentage of affordable units currently is 6.28%. This development is located in the Bear Hill Industrial Park, which is entirely within the industrial zone. I have reviewed the application in the context of accepted planning principles and the need for affordable housing in Milford. You will recall that in 2004, the town opposed and Mass Housing actually rejected the prior 40B that was proposed for this site. That proposal was much denser, consisted of 216 condo units occupying the entire 46 acres, leaving no possibility for commercial or industrial development. And all of those units were ownership units with only 54 that would have counted toward the 10% target. It should be noted that unlike that prior proposal, this development reserves 24.86 acres that front directly on Industrial Road for future commercial and industrial uses. This will provide for a balance of economic development with housing and still allow for job creation and increased tax revenue. Also, by comparison, the current proposal entirely separates residential traffic from heavy truck traffic on Industrial Road by utilizing Birch Street for the access, taking no access for the development, for the 40B development from Industrial Road. Unlike the 2004 proposal that used Industrial Road exclusively for all the residential access. Further, the current proposal clusters the units around a community square area containing a clubhouse, pool and patio area, and a playground, as well as preserving over 6 acres of contiguous open space to the west of the development. Therefore, I recommend a favorable report be forwarded to the Board of Selectmen so that they might include that with their letter of support to Mass Housing for future issuance of a favorable site eligibility determination for this project.
Thanks, Mark. Mike, you wanna go over yours?
Go over the highlighted items that are in the report. Once again, this is 159 rental units, which all count towards the town's inventory, the affordable inventory, because they're all rental, 159 units. So the plans that were submitted for this review were preliminary in nature, so I kind of just reviewed it on a preliminary basis. Number one, the site appears to have adequate site distance where the proposed driveways are coming out onto Birch Street. The plan shows the site being serviced by public, town water and town sewer. The overall internal circulation appears to be adequate, including emergency access around all the buildings. All access to the proposed site is from Birch Street and not through Industrial Road, separating the two types of uses, residential and commercial. The preliminary plan shows areas for drainage mitigation and basins on a preliminary basis. The plan shows some amenities for the community: clubhouse, pool, playground, and dog park. The 20-foot wide emergency access is located in a 50-foot wide access easement associated with the Birch Street Firehouse. It is just recommended that the applicant get together with the fire department and discuss their concerns, because I believe the fire department has some concerns there. Project is proposed in the northern portion of an overall 45.83 acre site, which allows for 24.88 acres fronting on Industrial Road, which will be for commercial purposes. So there again, once, retaining some commercial base. The proposed site is adjacent to the existing residential condominiums and will provide for a transition from the residential use, the condominiums, to the industrial commercial use fronting on Industrial Road. So I think that's a good point. It's a good transition from the two different uses. Let's see. Project will need to be submitted to the Conservation Commission for ultimate approval.
Okay.
Recommend a favorable report to the Board of Selectmen.
Thanks. Name and
Sure. Mark Allen with Allen Engineering, here representing Kevin Loberser, Loberser Building Corp., 88 Corp.
I
And
like the 89 quote though, because that made me a year younger. That was based on a graduation.
so we just want to highlight and thank Mike and Larry.
Just dyslexic.
As we've been working with the town here over the past 6 or 8 months, through the process of kind of splitting up the 45 acres into a definitive industrial part and a definitive residential part. We've gone through Concom already, just an FYI, when we got started, this had been previously flagged. Those were old, so we had all new wetland delineations done. We had an approval from the Concom, just that the wetlands were reconfirmed. And we've also had a filing with the Conservation Commission to go do additional tree clearing and some earthwork to level off the industrial pads on the southerly side of the property, down along Industrial Road. So as Mike indicated, and Larry indicated as well, this is more of an informal basis. Get your feedback as far as the comprehensive permit goes. It will be going through the ZBA as standard operating procedures, but Kevin wants to get feedback from the locals in advance of that, and even in advance of filing with Mass Housing to get a site approval letter. I think the more that Kevin reaches out to Concom, to the planning board, to the zoning board, to the water sewer boards, the more we're gonna have a nicer transition and easier 40B comprehensive permit application. So, you know, the 159 units, as Larry said, we've gone back and forth. We got a nice centralized location in 4 main buildings behind the fire station. There's gonna be a clubhouse centralized in the landscape area in front. And some other amenities are gonna include some covered garage or garage buildings, 10 per structure, so that certain units will have the ability to have a garage for their car. We have had some traffic investigations done, and we have some mitigating measures that we're gonna incorporate into our comprehensive permit. We have hired Bowler Engineering to do some landscape architecture to help the amenities package, and that's ongoing as well. So we welcome any feedback that you may have as we procure permits going forward.
Board have comments? I guess I have a question, just in point of order, considering we have this package in front of us, and
Yeah,
how the
that's-
process goes and where we are with affordable housing in the town of Milford, and what happens. I mean, if this project takes us over 10%,
Oh, it won't.
okay.
I don't believe it will. I don't remember the exact percentage, but,
It's around 440, Larry. That you're short.
yeah.
Yeah, 440 or
we're
460.
still several hundred short, yeah.
Okay.
But I guess I may not have expressed it very clearly when I was reading through my report, but the takeaway from this is basically comparing this kind of process where it was a much more collegial approach to looking at the area, looking at the site, recognizing that we don't have 10% and are, susceptible to 40B filings, but at least in this case, as my report kind of alluded to, compared to the old proposal back in 2004, this developer actually listened to the concerns of the town, asked for them first and was concerned about it. And the result is that half of the site is still going to be developable as it's zoned, commercial and industrial, with all of the access on Industrial Road, and kind of isolating the residential pod of the site in the northerly section. And as Mike mentioned, that would be a nice transition. But in the context of what is, I hate to use the term friendly 40B, but compared to other examples that you may have, this would be one. And to expedite that process, as I mentioned in the memo, one way to encourage that approach to development overall, but especially in terms of 40Bs, would be for the selectmen to be able to send a letter or provide the applicant a letter that he can include in his site eligibility request to Mass Housing, as opposed to him notifying the town and Mass Housing start a process that's multiple months long, just so we get a formal request from Mass Housing that, oh, by the way, 88 Corp. Wants to propose a 40B, then we respond to that, then they do, it's kind of a vicious circle. we can short-circuit that whole thing and really expedite the process, saving anywhere at least 2, if not up to 6 months in the process, and let them submit, a decent proposal. So that's kind of the process we've employed, and, Kevin was gracious enough to keep providing us the plans.
I figured that's what you were gonna do.
Any other,
I just have a question. What is the status right now with the 40Bs? What is the number? Is it below 10%? Is it 5%?
The
It's
current
6.9.
town
I
of
don't
Milford.
remember. What is the current?
Town of Milford's around 6.2.
6.2%, okay.
6.28.
Yeah.
Yep, 6.28.
I'm not sure if we have to forward anything to the Board of Selectmen or not, if we have no questions or comments at this point. We forwarding anything to the Board of Selectmen based on this, Larry, or is it,
Well, I was gonna offer, before I took my little detour there, I was going to offer to put together a letter for you to sign, if you prefer to do it that way, as opposed to just a cover letter that, relays some of your points or your, level of support. Because what the selectmen are trying to do, as I briefly mentioned, is themselves develop a level of support or a level of comfort to provide the kind of letter I think Kevin would need to go with his support, with his application. So I'd be glad to draft something based on any comments you have, or just a takeoff of this, if that's amenable to the board.
yeah, I haven't heard anything additional other than what's already been indicated in the,
All right, well, I can put
Letters,
something together and,
Yeah, just use it. Kevin, excuse me, have you talked to the sewer board at all?
Yeah, well, I've talked to the sewer board, all 3 members, and just like Bob stated, we were supposed to have a meeting last week with John, and that got canceled with some sewer breaks, and then we had a meeting scheduled this morning for 9:30, and that got canceled because of another sewer break. So we're scheduled now, I believe, for 11 o'clock tomorrow. The board members have no problem with what's happening. As always, they want us to talk to John. We know what our flow is, we know the pump station that we're going to. And again, part of the process of doing it the way we're doing it is, we're trying to make sure that the board understands, and we want John to understand, if the pump station needs work, that's what's part of doing a friendly 40B, is that we're gonna do the work. Just like, I'm not trying to negotiate against myself, but it's just like we've done so many traffic studies over the years, and they always come back, I'm sure you hear them all the time, that they have no effect, and the crowd usually groans and moans, and how's that gonna be? On this particular one, it actually came back that we do need to do a little bit of work. We've got to work on the signaling over by the assisted living, and they're saying that we should be adding a turn lane on the other end where, I don't even know what that is, Beaver Street and Birch Street. So, again, as the process that I'm trying to do is, we acknowledge that, and that's gonna be part of our proposal, that we're gonna do the turn lane, and we're gonna.
Well, that road has become, a road that everybody uses all the
Cut-through.
time.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I use it
Big
myself,
difference, not a cut-through.
instead of going through Main
Not a
Street.
cut-through, main thoroughbred.
It really is.
Unless you wanna sit in traffic on East Main Street, it's
Yes.
certainly not a cut-through.
Yeah, I know, it's true, it's true.
Yeah, it is a cut-through. It definitely is a cut-through. Also, isn't there there's always a flood zone I see
Over by the bridge.
over by the
It's
bridge.
Beaver Dam,
Yeah, the
it's a
beaver
really
dam.
large beaver dam.
Yeah.
Not on site, it's off site.
Yeah, it's way off
Yeah,
site.
yeah, I know it, but it usually is
Yeah.
full of water when a heavy rains, like last Thursday.
I think they try to break it up as many
Yeah.
times as they can, but they can't keep up with the
Pesky little
the
thing.
beavers. Tough, yeah, they're
It is
tough.
tough.
They're very tough.
so we just have a beaver relocation program.
So you're gonna be working with the fire department also, I noticed that they do have
The
some
fire department was one of
concerns.
the first department that we talked with,
Yeah.
so actually, I don't know if we should bring it up now anyway, Larry,
Well,
but
I wouldn't.
we'll hold off on that, yeah.
Okay, I was
There's,
just.
there's a
just
right of
curious.
way over the fire department lot
It goes with the property.
that goes
Yes,
to
okay.
this property. So, you,
I get it,
the developer could have proposed all of the access
okay.
coming through that right of way.
not.
And he didn't. He has an alternative route to get there, And any emergency access is probably not going to look like what's showing up on the plan. It would be less than that. Yeah, those are all the levels of, more level of detail than we're really at right now. That's why you don't have reports like a regular site plan from everybody.
I
It's just
understand
from
that.
Mike and from me.
I get that, Larry.
Yeah,
I
so-
do.
What kind of units, Kevin? Two-bedroom?
Well, they're 1, 2, and 10% have to be 3 bay because that's part of the state law. So we're doing it just at the 10%. We're not trying to introduce a bunch of 3-bedroom units, but we have to at least follow that part, so.
So 16, 15 to 16.
Yeah, I think there's 15 or 16.
Again, for the one and two-bedroom units, there's a great need for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make it official. I'll entertain a motion that Larry send a letter to the Board of Selectmen indicating the board didn't have any concerns with the development and agreed with the statements in Larry and Mike's letters to the board in terms of the siting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John, second,
Yeah, I'll second that.
seconded by Babe.
Do we want to hear anything from, I realize this is not the public hearing, but
I don't know that it's appropriate for
I think
what we're
that's-
trying to do.
Oh, fair statement.
Do
again,
you want me to draft this for your signature?
I would think so, yes. I don't think Pat's
I'm
gonna
not
sign
signing
it,
it.
so.
No, but I mean, you don't want me to sign it. You want to,
I'll sign it.
Somebody said
It should come from the
Another
board.
interesting thing too is I have met with Mass Housing, actually twice, to let them know about the project because of the fact, as Larry pointed out, that in '04 or whatever year it was, that there was that issue.
I remember.
And they were very excited about the project, so they love the way we laid it out. We actually worked with, obviously, Larry and Mike, but also we took some comments from Mass Housing on what would make that project one that the state would want to support, so.
Thank
They
you.
know that it's there, we just never filed it without getting comments from the town.
Okay, thank you for the input.
Thanks. Okay,
I'll-
CBA.
I'll open it up briefly to the people if there's comments or anything. Again, this is not a public hearing, there's no actions by this board per se, other than their own opinions as to the site, but if there's some comments or interest, I'm sure Kevin would like to know them as he moves forward in the process, so if there's something that somebody in the audience would like to say, we'll entertain those at that time. Just please, your name and address.
My name is Jean McKenzie. I live at 20 Stallbrook Road in Birch Hill. You can see our property at the top of the map there. I'm also the president of the board, and we have a number of residents here that I think share a lot of our concerns. One of our main concerns is Birch Street, the traffic situation on Birch Street. I know that you mentioned that you had done studies, but trying to get out of Birch Hill onto Birch Street in the morning can be dangerous because a lot of people speed, the road is narrow, the road is not in really good condition. And to add that many residential units with that many residents is gonna, plus the industrial buildings that are gonna be up there, is gonna add considerable traffic. In addition to more traffic down in this end of Milford with the Milford crossing that's going in there and all the new stores and restaurants. And I think a lot of our residents are very concerned that, first of all, Birch Street is not in the best condition now. It's narrow, it needs to be widened, and we feel that there should be sidewalks added because there are gonna be that many extra people in the area. So, I mean, that's a main concern, so I was wondering if there was a traffic study being done?
yes.
It will be as part of the final project, obviously not at this stage. So that's part of the final, I shouldn't even say the final, it'll be part of the package that, as the project moves forward. Again, this is just trying to get approvals from Mass Housing that the site is approvable or is eligible for approval. So we're ways away from those types of things, but yes, there'll have to be one as part of the project.
Okay, and with that maybe incumbent, I realize you can't speak for the person there or the people that will be doing the traffic study, but would that take into consideration things like, traffic lights and widening the
Yes,
road
it
and
could.
putting in sidewalks and.
Without a doubt.
It could.
That's very concerning, and maybe making the end of Beaver Street, I believe it's Beaver Street, that goes left and then comes out onto 109, maybe making that a two-way street
That's
instead of.
not, that's not within the,
It's not within the, okay,
that's a totally different issue. That's an issue with the state. We can't do it because of the location of Beaver Street in relationship to the ramps at 495. So it's not, it was changed when 495 was built in, and there's been various things that have come to this board in terms of trying to change that, but that's a story for a different day. It's not within,
okay, yeah, I
certainly something
realize
that this
that's not
person
within
could
your
do.
purview, that's
But this
that's
is all
fine.
preliminary, it's not at that level of detail at all. So that's why I suggested we not.
That's fine.
Among
Anything,
other
yeah.
concerns, though, I really think that, and I don't want to speak specifically for people at Birch Hill, but I think that is one of the main concerns
Mm-hmm.
with this, because it's going to really increase the traffic and, frankly, our safety.
Mhm.
So, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
considering.
Anyone else?
Hi, Robert Kellogg, I live on 15 Stallbrook. I want to add to Gene's concern, I'm a person who, through medical conditions, has had to do a lot of walking for the past year, and that street is almost a death zone. I mean, I don't know what the limit is, but you're gonna get people coming toward Medway at 35, 45 miles an hour as they come over the hill in low traffic times, and in high traffic times when people are coming down. And you've got, on both sides of the street, you've got guardrails. It's very, very difficult to walk. I try the best I can to wait till the traffic passes, but I can't even make those short distances without having traffic there. It's, hey, thank you.
Yeah, Kevin can certainly hang around after the meeting and address your
Yes, go
questions.
ahead, sir.
Hi, my name's Gary Goodwin. I live on 1 Lombardi Circle. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I echo their concerns as well. I just wanted to point out something differently. First, I wanted to mention I applaud the layout here. This is the first time we've actually seen buildings. And it looks like a very nice setup for the area that you have. With regard to how it relates to the Birch Hill condominiums, I'm curious, do you know about how far the buildings actually are?
Sure.
And where these are 4-story buildings, will they be in a sight of line? Because I know there's a grade there. I want to say it's 6 foot or something like that.
They're 3-story
They're only
buildings.
3-story buildings.
Three-story.
Yeah.
Okay, 4.
And there will be
And the grade
buffering
will
for
be
landscape.
relatively significant, right, Mark?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm just
that's what
gonna,
I thought.
Yeah.
building to building, you're probably looking at about 250 feet to the closest building. And the grade change, I'd have to check the maps, but I think it's gonna be about I wanna say a 15 to 20 foot vertical difference.
Okay.
What's your offset from your property line to the building approximately?
You're about 160.
Thanks. Anyone else? Thank you very much. Again, this wasn't a public hearing. I'm sure you'll be hearing about the project as it moves forward, and there will be obviously notifications as it does go forward in the process, but at least Kevin can use that information as he moves forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, we have a ZBA variance.
You gotta have a vote.
Oh, that's right.
I'm sorry, I thought you had.
finalize the vote. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous at 4, 1 abstention.
Here we have a ZBA variance for 34 Asylum Street.
Aces.
The applicant requests a variance to reconfigure the subject property. The property consists of 2 non-conforming lots that are considered merged by zoning. Variance for this application was granted by the ZBA on 6/29/17. However, an error in the survey was discovered recently that necessitated correction of the variance. Specifically, the proposal is to raise the existing dwelling situated on lot 49 and to divide the property into 2 regularly shaped lots One new single-family dwelling would be built on each of the two lots. Variances for lot area, width, and frontage are necessary for this proposal. Larry is recommending favorable.
I will too.
So essentially, they already had a ZBA.
Yeah, they-
I'm understanding you, they were granted a ZBA. Clearly, there was something wrong with the surveying or engineering. And now they're coming back to correct it, so.
Do you know what it was, Larry, just for?
There was something with the perimeter, as I recall, the areas were off by a few feet.
Do you remember what our recommendation to zoning was?
I don't think it matters, because they gave.
Well, I
it
know
to them.
that.
No, I don't recall. I think the recommendation was negative.
That's what I thought. I
That would
just,
be my gut, but again, at this point, does it matter?
well, just to be consistent, I just assume vote against it and let
Yeah,
them,
but you know
well,
what?
give it to them.
If they already gave it to her, I don't really feel like embarrassing myself. What's the motion, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move.
Favorable?
Favorable recommendation.
Move by Lena for favorable, seconded by John. Any further discussion? All in favor of favorable? Opposed to favorable? 4 in favor of favorable, 1 opposed. May I have your cover letter?
Me.
Oh,
You in favor of favorable?
Oh, here, take that. one.
Joe did.
Wants to.
Want to remain consistent.
Do I know that?
He's got his.
We have a ZBA variance for 28 Ravenna Street. The applicant requests a variance to divide the subject property. The property originally consisted of 6 non-conforming parcels that were over the years been merged by zoning. Specifically, the proposal is to divide the existing conforming 24,088 square foot lot into 2 12,026 square foot lots and a 12,062 square foot lot. There are no circumstances relating to the land itself that constitutes a hardship. Larry therefore is recommending unfavorable. Pleasure of the board.
I'd make a motion, we give a favorable recommendation.
Motion by Babe for favorable. Do I have a second on the
Yeah,
favorable?
I'll second
Seconded
that
by Lena.
Yep.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing not. All in favor of the favorable? Opposed to the favorable? It's gonna be 3, are you opposing or in favor? Johnny?
Opposing.
All right, so it's 2 in favor, 3 opposed. So in other words, it's a negative, it's a unfavorable to the ZBA. You get that, Karen?
And I don't see any reason
This is one of the.
There isn't any.
There's no hardship.
there's no hardship at all.
Okay, we have a ZBA special permit for 21, 23, and 27 West Street. The applicant requests a special permit to change from the non-conforming funeral home to residential uses on the subject property. The funeral home building will be converted entirely for residential use, with 2 new 2-bedroom units on the first floor and a new 2-bedroom unit being added to the existing unit on the second floor, meaning that there's already an apartment on the second floor, so there will be a total of 4 units. The single-family dwelling at the rear of the property will remain. The adjacent garage with an apartment on the second floor will also remain. The existing 2-family dwelling on the west of the funeral home will also remain with no modifications. There will be a total of 8 units with this proposed plan. The applicant also proposes the merger of both parcels into one large parcel for the proposed compound. The proposed residential complex will result in a development that is more in tune with the surrounding residential neighborhood. Traffic generation and parking will be dramatically improved with the proposed changes. Therefore, Larry is recommending favorable. Quick generic question, Larry?
Yep.
Are they proposing or planning on removing any of the asphalt, or they're just gonna leave it as a compound, because it's a sea of black there?
Well, no, there is a plan that's
It's a
on its
beautiful
way,
thing.
it's just not here yet. They will be removing asphalt, they're gonna be closing one of the curb cuts, and then cleaning it up so it does look more like a residential
That's what's
area.
confusing. I mean, I agree in theory the compound that's exactly what it's gonna resemble. But again, my fundamental problem is it's all asphalt there,
No,
which
there-
again was suited for,
Funeral.
it's typical use of a
Right.
funeral home.
Right.
No, so it'll
Prob- you know, but-
have less asphalt, I just didn't have the final plan to
Okay.
compare the
What's
percentages.
the pleasure of the board?
So there's no, No change to exterior structures as part of this.
Something to do with the front door they're gonna change.
Well, they'll have a
To make it
single.
look
yeah.
residential. If
They're
you-
gonna
I had the
change the
chance to
commercial
read
Yeah,
it.
but the overall
Yeah.
building footprint is consistent
Right.
with what's there.
Yeah, they're not adding on to any of the buildings. They're not making it bigger.
Pleasure of the board?
I don't wanna ruin my streak of going against things, so someone else can make a recommendation at least.
Oh, come
Anyone?
on. Come on, Joe.
Make a motion, we give a favorable recommendation.
Motion by Bay for favorable, do I have a second on the favorable?
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay, we got one from John. All in, all in favor of the favorable? Opposed to the favorable?
I'm not opposed to it.
So you're in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay.
I just didn't wanna make a recommendation.
Yes, plus.
May I just have your copy or letter? And finally, I need a motion to endorse the site plan Mylar for 155 Fortune Boulevard, which was here at the last meeting.
Right.
Motion by Lena, seconded by John. Any discussion or not? I will sign the Mylar. Thank you and have a good night. I'll take a motion for adjournment. Motion by Joe, seconded by Lena. Thank you.